We are into the quarterfinals of 2022 Generation Adidas Cup U15 level. LAFC, TFC, an opportunity to move to the big stadium to the semifinals coming up as we are here for a must-win matchup between two of the biggest academies in Major League Soccer. Hi, everybody. I'm David Goss here with former FC Dallas player right here, Mr. Bobby Warshaw. And Bobby, I mentioned it, the quarterfinals. It's got a ring to it. Everyone knows what a game like this means. It's not a group stage. You don't have to direct. For these young players, it's a must-win moment.
It's a huge and a wonderful opportunity for these young players to show their clubs and to show the world here on these streams what they can do, and especially between these two storied organizations. LAFC hit the ground running. TFC, winners of MLS Cups. A big one here in the quarterfinals.
And you take a look at what these teams have on the road in front of them here playing in this quarterfinals. As you take a look at the bracket, looking for a chance to go to the semifinals and face off against one of the great other teams in this competition. And Bobby, what's interesting is they had their first off day yesterday. They prepared for this game mentally, physically. How does that change it for these young players?
GA Cup comes so fast. You wait you wait 9 months for it, and then you play 4 games in 4 days, and it leads up to this. Starting with the quarterfinals, you finally get a day to rest, a day to breathe, a day to game plan, and that's what we've heard from both of these clubs. They know what to expect in this game. They've talked to their players. They know what it will take to win in today's quarterfinal.
We are streaming all 4 of those games. That Portland Red Bull winner will face off against the winner of this game. Let's take a look at our starting lineups. We begin with the black and gold LAFC. We have seen them already on this broadcast. Bobby, a lot of the big names back into the starting lineup.
It is, and we expect this to be a 4-3-3 in both the defending and the attacking phases. And David, we've both been very impressed by number 4, center striker Dempsey Vrezic. Multiple goals, good on the ball, and really leads his team and drives them forward with his energy from up top.
Yeah, he is the leader for the Golden Boot race, and we go to TFC. Bobby, heavy rotation for this Toronto FC squad coming into this one. Strength at the back in Will Caldwell, as well as Pablo Patrick Galvez.
It is, and we'll see a similar 4-3-3 shape from this Toronto team. David, we've really enjoyed watching number 78 in midfield, Quentin Christie, and as you mentioned, big names coming off the bench. I wouldn't be surprised to see TFC play through these first 30 minutes, keep the game tight, and then bring on the Nwoku brothers and Shula Jamo in the second half.
But you are all in for a treat if you get to watch Shula Jamo play a little bit of soccer. That young man is a special piece for this TFC squad. Both these teams trying to show their depth now. This, for these squads, their 5th game in 6 days. And that is the challenge at GA Cup. This is the highest level some of these young players have ever played at, and it is going to be an exciting one. We got LAFC in their all-black kits with the gold numbers going right to left on your monitors, and TFC in their all-reds going left to right on your screens. And we've got Kelly Glendenning down on the sideline as well with us for this broadcast. David Goss and Bobby Warshaw with you as we kick off the opening quarterfinal match at the U15 level here at the Generation Adidas Cup. And Bobby, what's fun about this game is so often for these players, the international competition is playing against the unknown, playing against new teams. These two sides have never met each other before, and so that also applies here.
Two organizations who come from the Bob Bradley coaching tree. Their philosophies, their game models will be very similar, but the specific implementation today could vary because we've seen throughout his career the way Bob Bradley can approach the game. Tons of tools in his toolbox. LAFC, the more likely to be the protagonist, using the ball, trying to break lines, whereas Toronto FC will find their competitive advantage being organized, being tight, looking to catch LAFC on the break.
We are here on the MLS YouTube page as well as on Twitch. Feel free to jump into that Twitch chat, ask us any questions, any comments you have about this game, and we will respond to you. We start out really with a first chat comment, which is shout out to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Love that. It's a good way to start the game.
It's always a good way to start the game. TFC versus LAFC. Bobby mentioned the big pieces on the bench for this TFC squad. The Chukwu brothers have been the stars, one in central midfield, one up top, as we saw in the Club America game. Joses Chukwu had the winning goal for TFC. They do have those options on the bench to them as this game goes along, as well as LAFC, as they've got a U17 international, Charlie Rosenthal, on the bench at number 9.
David, we can already see a unique version of this game taking place for the under-15 age group. Toronto FC sitting in a mid-block, waiting for LAFC to play in front of them. Usually at the younger ages, we see fast games, we see pressing, we see teams to try and be as aggressive as possible. We don't often see the under-15 age group playing in a block like this, waiting for the opponent to make a mistake. And I would expect this first 30 minutes to be a game of patience. Can LAFC move Toronto side to side, try and open them up to play through the middle?
Chance to break now for Nugent. Nugent charging after those black jerseys, slips that pass through for Christie, and taken in the end by Offray.
Or will LAFC lose focus first, which we just saw, which could create a transition moment the other way?
Bobby, we talked to TFC head coach Terry Dunfield, obviously TFC Canadian legend, before the game, and one of the things he touched on was this LAFC team, they're so good, they haven't had to struggle much. Can we just make life hard for them for a little and see how they react? Returning to turn in midfield. Maza back to Patrick Galvez. As the center back turns it over, he's been a star performer throughout the competition. Patrick Galvez now against Resic. Resic goes down. And we've got a goal kick coming. It is Naomi Nunes, our center referee for this one. And now it'll be a corner kick, but a potential opening penalty kick.
Big decision from the referee here, David. As Resic gets around the corner, good balance, good center of gravity. The question is, does Pablo Galvez get that back foot? Foul's called.
Yeah, so it is a free kick on the edge of the area. So the foul is called. Determined to be outside. You see the LAFC U17 team right behind that free kick. As now the free kick is put in all the way through. So that an opportunity, Bobby, that goes wanting there in the opening moments.
And David, as we look at TFC's first build out, we can see the contrasting approaches. Whereas Toronto FC, waited in a mid block, we can see LAFC pushing high, forcing on the first goal kick TFC to go long. Something we have not seen too much from this organization so far in Generation Adidas Cup.
And Bobby, Patrick Galvez, I mentioned, he has been one of the star performers. The turnover, the foul called against him. So a tough start for a great young player, as now a turnover. And LAFC immediately looking to do damage. And the early shot knocked over the top from Aguilar.
I would not expect it to impact Patrick Galvez too much. When I watch him, the name that comes to mind, Virgil van Dijk. So composed on the ball, never seems to get frazzled. A quiet leader back there.
It was really impressive in their games against the LA Galaxy and Club America, where they both had a lead and had to try and hold on. This team, and we'll talk about it a bit more, because of COVID, they have played the least games of anyone in this competition over the last 2 years. They've trained the least. And you could feel the team sort of starting to come apart, and he was the guy who stepped up and would go out wide and make a tackle or put his foot on the ball, beat an attacking player, get into the second level to reset the team. It feels like he is that leader, and as you said, it'd be surprising if it affected him for very long. That foul will go against Maza as Aguilar's taken down. It is a loaded central midfield for this LAFC team. DeCarlo Guerra, the number 6. Tall center mid with the ponytail who will pull the strings. Kyrome Lumsden, a U15 international, and Adrian Aguilar, his 2 partners ahead of him.
And it's a familiar build-out setup from LAFC that we've seen over the years. 2 center backs, in front of them, a triangle with a single pivot. In this situation, DeCarlo Guerra with 2 8s in front of him. As we saw with Bob Bradley's first team, Edward Atuesta, in that 6 role, can they get the ball in the defensive midfielder on the half turn and then break lines to the 8? And the final pattern will always be hoping to find the winger going outside in between the outside back and the center back. That's the prototypical LAFC buildup.
Aguilar, the touch. Bay battles it away from him. Ange Bay, one of the new recruits to the TFC Academy, number 93 in central midfield. Came off the bench in the opening game and has stepped in and taken over that central midfield spot. Ali Vato now charging forward, turns it over. Dennis Ramirez to the foot of Guerra. Guerra never looking harried in the game.
So chill, so calm on the ball in tough situations.
And it was interesting talking to the Academy director, Todd Saldana, for LAFC before the game, and he just said, TFC will play like teams in Southern California don't play. And I think Guerra, a good epitome of a Southern California team. Resic, he plays harried, he plays quick, and immediately he's on his horse. Knocks it back to Lumsden. Tyrone Lumsden dribbling into the attack. One-on-one with Patrick Galvez. Lumsden to his right foot, and the cross headed away by Caldwell. Second opportunity, and it's into the safe hands of Abraham.
Lumsden, one of the best players to watch in this age group. So smooth, so aggressive and confident, driving forward in possession.
TFC, another turnover in the build-out. Guerra now stepping into the attack. Not Nugent dropping all the way deep. TFC, all 11 players back behind the ball. 30-minute halves for a 60-minute game here at the Generation Adidas Cup. Quarterfinals, looking for an opportunity to face off against the winner of the Red Bulls and the Portland Timbers as Lumsden gets into the box. More contact. Our head official once again right on top of that one. She waves it off.
The pressure from the crowd behind the goal as well. LAFC's under 15s in attendance in that back right corner cheering their team on.
Naomi Nunes has had an active open to the game, has had to. TFC are able to get out on the build-up this time. Guerra will drop it all the way back. Villalobos in possession. This LAFC team, a ton of players with youth international experience. Many for the U.S., but also for Mexico and El Salvador. As Nugent can't keep possession, and Resic once again on the ball. Benjamin Resic, Dempsey Resic, excuse me, with the shot on. And he knocks it over the top.
What a nuisance this guy is for center backs to play against. Always popping up, always making contact, good with both feet. Sometimes he runs behind, sometimes he checks in, sometimes he just pins them back. Always finding ways to help his teammates and trouble the center backs.
Scored against Montreal in the round of 16 game, playing on the right side of the attack. We saw him score 2 against Leon in the opening game, playing as the center forward. As you said, can do a little bit of everything. Corner kick coming in now. Ball knocked in on the ground. Cleared away by Caldwell. Guerra surrounded by red jerseys. His shot, and it goes just wide.
Here we see it starts with the low corner to the near post. Doesn't get fully cleared out. Ends up at the top of the box. DeCarlo Guerra in a good spot to clean it up. Gets the shot off from 20 yards. Just pulls it wide.
David Goss, Bobby Warshaw with you here for this Generation Adidas Cup quarterfinal matchup between LAFC and Toronto FC. Becoming 2 of the best academies in the Major League Soccer system. Of course, 2 clubs, especially on the Toronto side, that have been influential in World Cup qualifying in the historic moment for Canada. For more on TFC, let's go down to our sideline reporter in Kelly Glendenning.
All right, Anthony, you guys got to tour the Dallas Cowboys facilities this week, so I heard. How did that come about, and why was that such an experience for these players to get out there and see what the Dallas Cowboys organization is all about?
So we're very fortunate to have Justin Morrow here with us from our first team, former first team player. And he had a connection there with the Dallas Cowboys, and he got us into the facility. Great experience for our players to see that world-class facility. and get them out of the hotel for a day because they had a day off from the event. So to get away from the event is also important.
And the GA Cup, you guys haven't really gotten to play very much just in these last 2 years with COVID, and coming down here against this type of high caliber competition. What's it meant for these players to really test themselves against other teams around the world?
It's meant everything to us. We've been off for about 2 years in Canada, a lot of restrictions. They took a very conservative approach with COVID. And so we haven't had the luxury of playing these types of games against high-level competition. So we're very grateful to be here and participate in this event.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Anthony.
Thanks so much to Kelly. And thanks so much to Anthony Capitosto, the Academy Director for Toronto FC. And Bobby, we've heard him speak in the past. He's been with Toronto FC a number of years, and he's had an interesting test over the last few years. Obviously, COVID dimension, but the big one being 3 different head coaches with 3 different soccer philosophies. But what we see from this TFC group is similar to what we saw 4 or 5 years ago, and it's been his job to sort of build that for the academy down.
One of the main themes we hear about at this tournament is the alignment from the first team through all the academy teams. LAFC, the alignment is very clear. A similar game model for the first team as the MLS Next Pro, the 17s, and the 15s. But like you said, when the first team rotates coaches, but not just that, it was a total philosophical overhaul from a Greg Vanney to a Chris Armas and now to a Bob Bradley. And one thing we also hear from clubs is the academy aren't as much decision makers as guardians of ideas. And what Toronto has built is a true clarity on who they want to be. So whenever we see an under 15, under 17 team, regardless of what happens at the top.
And again, claims for a penalty kick, and Naomi Nunes right on top of that one. Again, waves it off. Let's take a look at this one, Bobby. It is becoming 24. Pretty often here, and
there's definitely enough for a shout. There's a clip on the back foot. You can see where the shout comes from, but for me, a good no call. If you're going to give a penalty in this situation, it's got to be very clear. I'm okay with that no call.
It was James Arteaga breaking into the box there. It was with the claim for the penalty kick, and Naomi Nunes now has had 3 penalty kick claims that she's had to wave off so far.
And she's been decisive and confident, and the way I've seen it, consistent about the way she's approached the different calls.
We are still hanging out with all of you here on Twitch. JR Soccer 2018 says, what player from U15 has surprised you the most? Bobby, I have an answer. Do you have an answer?
I'll start off by saying number 6 for this LAFC team.
Opportunity to push forward now for TFC as they get into the box, and you're talking about DeCarlo Guerra.
We knew that this LAFC team had multiple weapons. We heard about Kyron Lumsden coming in, Dempsey Rezic. We did not hear the name Guerra as much, but he really is the person that holds this group together, getting on the ball, leading their counter-pressing. He's impressed through multiple phases of the game.
Yeah, I would say 2 players. Amos Glah from the Colorado Rapids, who hasn't been a part of that academy for long and came in and played really well in the group stage. But I mentioned it in the open. My number 1 is Shola Jamo. He's on the bench right now, number 79 for TFC. He started at fullback. He's moved to winger, and he is just a gamer, and he's a winning player. And when you see him come into this game, you'll know exactly what I mean immediately. Free kick coming here in a dangerous spot for TFC. They've been on their heels most of this game. Can they steal the early lead? Comes out for Bez. Bez's shot is blocked. TFC now reset the attack. Pushed away by LAFC. And now Lumsden a chance to start the counter. Rezic chasing. A mistake there. Rezic, opportunity breaking into the box. He crosses it. The finish is saved. The clearance made and into the safe arms of Abraham.
The transition, Lumsden plays the direct ball, forces Toronto to defend facing their own goal. It's always a challenge. Dempsey gets on the end of it, and Rezic plays it across the goal. Good footwork, good positioning by Abraham to keep the score level.
So TFC, their first half chance of the game on a free kick, and Bobby, it leads to LAFC's biggest chance of the game. It's an LAFC team that is flying on all cylinders here. Matías Wanchope picks up that ball. And yeah, if that name sounds familiar, he is the nephew of the Costa Rican legend, one of the great players in CONCACAF history. As now LAFC are able to move their numbers up into the final third. And the foul. It'll go against Mancini there from the left back spot.
David, through the first 15 minutes, fair to say that Toronto FC are going to feel better about the opening segment of the game?
They wanted to frustrate LAFC, and I think just staying alive when LAFC have more of the looks, more of the possession, has accomplished that. Now for TFC, it's how do you find your feet and start to build in this game? Because we have seen in possession, they can be as pretty as every team in this competition, if not more. We haven't seen that part of their game yet. Free kick coming now. Aguilar will take this one. Bodies stacked on the top of the box, floated in. And Bobby, for a free kick from that position, is that how deep you want your players to start, or that's TFC's line?
Traditionally, teams have started higher than that, but we've seen a new trend led by clubs in Italy to actually drop back farther. Because if you start higher, it gives a bigger gap to play the ball into that you have to chase back. And if you start deeper, as we are seeing more and more, you can then attack the ball. So it's just a philosophical preference, and it feels like we're going through a new stage because these things always come in cycles and trends. We're seeing a new one right now with how teams approach those set pieces.
60-minute games here, Bobby, and fortunate for this opening game, the wind has died down quite a lot, but no matter what, knockout games like this, we've seen set pieces be so crucial to move on to the next round.
I was hoping we were going to go the whole game without saying the W word. It would be our first time here at GA Cup.
We have to say it to explain the absence of it.
But yeah, set pieces always crucial. Certainly at the top level of football, about 25% of goals come from set pieces of some sort. When you have the wind, the conditions, the tournament format like that, it's slightly higher at these events.
Patrick Alves rotates it to Will Caldwell. Nugent can't keep that one under control. Nugent has started most of the games on the wing, helped close out the victory over Club America in the last round at that center forward spot. As Mancini chases that one into the quarter. Wanchope's on the ball, pulls it back, doesn't find a teammate.
That ball from Guerra, though, the perfect weight on it, just into the path of the outside in run from the wide player.
I got to say, not only the quality from Guerra, he's so tall that we put together a best 11 of the U17 players, and I put him in there because I thought he was a U17 player on my memory. And he's an impressive young player, as you mentioned. Pulling the strings once again.
As LAFC goes through this progression phase against the Toronto FC mid-block, they've often opted to go for the wide overload through Ramirez here at left back. Instead of trying to play through the defensive midfielder and break the lines on the ground, they've gone for this approach, often down the left side, play wide, bring numbers over, and take the 4v3 in the wide channel.
We've got New York Red Bulls against the Portland Timbers coming up in our next match at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. The winner of this game will face off against the winner of that game as Lumsden in the box. Christie comes over to help defend, wins it back from Lumsden.
Individual duel between two of the best players we've seen here in the under 15 age group.
And now LAFC turning the screws. Sam Bruno strides forward from his center back spot. Bruno, 1v1. Now into the feet of Guerra. Ramirez pinching up.
David, LAFC are the team in possession right now, but I would go as far to say that Toronto are the more dangerous team. Right now, LAFC sending both outside backs forward. Guerra stepped up. It's really just the two center backs for LAFC that are fully behind the ball in this moment.
Does that kill that moment for TFC when you get pulled out into that foul?
In that situation, and something you learn as you mature is when is it a good time to foul, when is it not? You have numbers behind the ball, you have a chance to counter, you don't want to let them off the hook with a little foul like that.
Ball put in. Headed away once again by Caldwell. Wanchope now in possession, looking to go 1v1. Wanchope, a slide tackle on him from Hayes. And a free kick coming. Excuse me, that was Hazim Khadib on that far side. Free kick once again, LAFC. They have knocked and knocked. The biggest chance of this first half came to Arteaga on that transition moment. Then they find the breakthrough right in front of their teammates there, behind that goal. The free kick served in. Then headed up in the box. And for TFC, it goes in the right direction. Nugent challenging. Bruno comes over to head it out. And Guerra immediately back on the ball.
And it was Quentin Christie, number 78, the midfielder who got on the end of that, the perception to see where it was going to land. Reminds me of the ability from Weston McKennie to always know where the ball is going to end up in the air. Not the tallest player in the field, but the perception makes the difference.
Ramirez slots that one through. Caldwell, first one to it. He's able to get that over Guerra's head just by an inch. Guerra now immediately back to work. He is a master on the ball, pulling the strings for this side. Cross comes all the way through the box. Arteaga brings it down. He puts it back in, knocked up in the air. TFC battling. Arteaga puts his head in a dangerous spot, and he earns his team a corner kick.
And we're seeing the LAFC wide players grow into the game. When you play against a defensive approach that TFC is deploying, you'll often find your space out wide. And if you have two dangerous 1v1 players like LAFC have in Wanchope and Arteaga, you always have a chance to create chaos and problems.
Corner kick coming here for LAFC. Aguilar serves it in. Headed away by Be at the near post. And Wanchope going all the way back towards his goalkeeper. And Bobby, you brought up Weston McKennie. Obviously a great young player. We actually saw him here at Generation Adidas Cup. But for TFC, it's cool as these tournaments go along for these young players to learn how connected they are to the rest of their club. As now LAFC pushes forward. Resic now one-on-one with Patrick Galvez. And Galvez pushes it out for a corner kick. And we were told by Terry Dunfield that going into the Club America game, Michael Bradley sent a video to the team talking about what it's like to play in a knockout, what it's like to play against a Mexican team. I thought that was pretty cool from a guy who's the face of a franchise.
An amazing story. What Michael Bradley does for his club, what he's done for his country over the years, so much passion.
Corner kick served in here. Headed down, still in the box. Resic trying to turn on it. And now Khadib will clear it out as TFC prepare their first two substitutes of the game. 7 substitutes allowed for these coaching staffs.
How wonderful must it feel to be a 15-year-old and get a video message from Michael Bradley?
I got pumped up hearing about it and what he had to say. And I can't even imagine for these young players, as we will have a break here for a potential injury. And Bobby, we've talked about this a lot. Now 15s here, not 17s. These players aren't that far up. The connection from the first team down is close, and that's the point of the development. And to be able to see that Michael Bradley is taking these players under his arms, talking to them, helping them along, it's exactly what we wanted to see from the academy setup.
And when we watched the under-15 team from Toronto FC here 2 years ago, they have already progressed multiple players from that group into the first team and now playing with Michael, playing for Bob Bradley. So as you said, they're U15 now, but the way world football works at this point, you're not that far from first team minutes.
You are right. The last time we were here before COVID, Shaquille Marshall-Ruddy played. And yes, you're hearing me right, for the U15s for Toronto FC. And now he, when healthy, is a starter for Bob Bradley's side.
David, as we see Toronto FC bring on their first subs of the game, this signals to me that head coach Terry Dunfield feels like they're losing control so far here in the first half. They started, we had mentioned through the first 18, 20 minutes, they were the team that had control of the game. Maybe not control of the ball, but control of the spaces and the chances. That's shifted in the last 5 minutes. And Shola Jamo, one of the stars of this group, you talked about him earlier, the word that comes to mind for me, a game changer. it would be optimal to bring him on with 20 minutes to go instead of 40 minutes to go. But if you need to get a hold of the game, he's a great choice.
In a way, I think it'll be interesting to see how Terry Dunfield's thinking about this game. Is we've seen Jamo play fullback when the team expects to sit a little deeper. We've seen him play on the wing when they want to press higher because of his ability to harry attacking players in possession. So it'll be interesting to see where he puts him on, how he sees this rest of this half and the second half playing out. So it looks like the substitution was made during the stoppage. Anj Bay still okay to continue. We'll get you the full updates on them.
David, to your point a minute ago, Shola Jamo is on the left wing. And to continue your thought, I agree. That's a statement of intent and aggressiveness. That you're starting to lose the game. Instead of focus on your organization or being reactive, putting a number farther up the field, a number with the energy and the pace of Jamo, to try and put it to LAFC. Put them under pressure, make the game harder for them. And one of the themes we talk about at this tournament, it's not just a development opportunity for the players, but also for the coaches and referees. And I love this from a young coach in Terry Dunfield. It's decisive. It's taking the front foot. It's sending a message to your team about the adjustment they need to make right at this point in the game.
So Toronto FC, their first substitutions. And 7 subs available to these two coaching staffs. 3 moments they can use them in, but that's only for the second half. So that won't count as one of the moments for Toronto FC, as Ben now breaking into the attack. Slides it for Christie. Christie with the left-footed shot. It goes just wide. And for more on our substitutes, let's go down to the sideline. It'll be a free kick, excuse me. So before we take that, let's go to Kelly Glendenning down on the sideline.
Yeah, Toronto introduced those 2 subs for two short reasons. They needed some more speed on the left, and then on the right, they wanted to really control that flank.
Thank you so much, Kelly. So, Jamo coming on in this one.
And David, the second tactical follow-up there is LAFC has found success through the left back Dennis Ramirez and the right back Joshua Santiago. They're often the outlet once they pull Toronto over to one side. Now if you can play faster, better attacking wide players, it pins those defenders back and doesn't give them such freedom to drive forward like we're seeing.
Oh, free kick coming. It's Christie standing over this one, the man who drew it. He floats that shot. It's a little too high for the far post. TFC growing off those substitutions, and immediately Jamo launching into the press.
A significant shift here from head coach Terry Dunfield, going from that mid-block, reacting, now stepping higher, pressing LAFC as much as possible, and continuing to press. There's a chance there that you step high, and then once they break the initial line of pressure, you drop into a block. But here we see, even when they play back, you keep going. The energy rising from the sideline, Terry Dunfield as well, shouting, yes, go, yes. Trying to drive his team forward through his own personality. We saw it through 45 international caps for the Canadian national team, someone that has the personality to lift everyone around him.
And Terry, not a coach who is normally that loud on the sideline. He lets the players play. I can tell you from sitting at midfield for a couple of games, we'll chat with the referees as well. But you can hear him spurring this team on and doing it both tactically and emotionally. How does LAFC react now? We have entered stoppage time of this first half. Quarterfinals action. Only a win will do to get you to the next round. LAFC controlling most of this first half, but yet to break through for a goal. Bobby, if you're this LAFC coaching staff, what's going through your head? What do you think how are you shaping your message at halftime?
I think the main message is you look them in the eye and you get them to take a deep breath, to relax. That Toronto came into this game wanting to frustrate LAFC, wanting to make them struggle, and they have done that. This LAFC team is so talented. They don't often get a fight like this, but now they have it right in front of them. They've seen it for 30 minutes. They know what the challenge is. And if you're the LAFC coaching staff, you remind them that you would bet on them to solve it, to relax, to take a deep breath, and they have the ability to play their way into this game.
And we have seen Resic be a threat in this first half. We haven't seen Wanchope as much, drew a foul or two, but he has the ability. We saw him sort of tear Leon apart and get a goal in that game. So there are match winners on both sides. A couple big subs potentially to be made, but there are players out there on the field with the key to open that lock. A great first half of soccer. Two teams that know who they are. They want to use the ball, and it's been impressive to watch. LAFC against TFC, the U15 quarterfinals for a spot in the semifinals against the Red Bulls or the Portland Timbers. We've got all your second half action coming up in just a moment here from Frisco, Texas.
What the foreign country have done in 1 century, we did it in 10 years.
The great soccer pioneer Lamar Hunt once said, "I get asked this a lot. Why has soccer not succeeded? My answer is, soccer has succeeded. It is already the fastest growing youth participation sport in the U.S. It has already succeeded at the youth level, no question." Lamar Hunt envisioned early on that youth development would play a vital part in the growth of soccer in the United States. But to measure how far we've come as a soccer nation starts here in Frisco, Texas. The Generation Adidas Cup brings Major League Soccer academies face-to-face against international powerhouses from all over the world. Since the introduction of this tournament, and in the last few years alone, the youth game has gone through a metamorphosis. But what is being done at the youth level to advance the game?
The game, the players, and our coaches.
Through a partnership with the French Football Federation, Major League Soccer began prioritizing the education of coaches in every level, and alongside on-field competition and the development of a player itself, encompassed the 3 pillars of focus towards advancing the youth game.
We have put in a lot of time and effort on coaching development. So I think that the results of that are starting to happen. The coaches who have gone through the French EFCL, the French Federation course, we're starting to see how that has changed in the way their teams are approaching the game and the way that they're playing. The fact that our clubs now are going younger and younger, bringing in kids at the ages of, in some cases, 11 and 12 years old, it's giving them a little bit of longevity and preparation in the way that they are building a young professional. So they're taking it from a young age, developing their technical skills, developing the tactical awareness of the game, improving their physical conditioning and their mental approach to the game. So I think we're starting to see the results. Every year for the last 3 years, we've seen an improvement of the quality of play, and I think we're seeing it this year, that our clubs are slowly but surely catching up to the international clubs.
We cannot develop better kids if we don't have better teachers. So we have done a lot of work on this subject. The last aspect is the competition aspect. We all know if we want to improve our kids, we need to develop them with more meaningful competition. And the GA Cup is a perfect example of this effort. In one side, we try to benchmark our players and our coaches against the best team of the world, and Real Madrid is here to highlight that. But it's also, in the other side, the opportunity to create a coaching symposium to try to link both competition and coaching education, and to make sure we have different layers in this process to upgrade and to improve everyone.
We can't afford to have this traditional mentality that we know everything, because the second we think that, we're going to stop growing. So as a nation, and I feel the more curious we are about the game itself, and put the ego to the side, and realize that there's a lot more to learn than what we know, then I think our development's going to have another boost.
In the previous structure that we had, when a player was good in an academy, almost he was the one that was getting the least coaching, because the clubs did not want to lose that player. Now I think we're creating an environment that is full of good players, so therefore those special players now are going to have to push themselves, and that's going to help them to raise the level and become those world superstars. So I have no doubt that in a short period of time, we're going to see very special players. We're starting to see that.
Giovanni Reyna steps to the spot and puts his team ahead in extra time of the Premier Division Championship. LAFC against TFC, the quarterfinals of the U15 2022 Generation Adidas Cup. Huge opportunity for these young players as we prepare to kick off our second half. LAFC in their black and gold going left to right on your monitors. TFC in their famous red kits going right to left on your screens. David Goss and Bobby Warshaw with you here from Frisco, Texas, the site of the Generation Adidas Cup. Our first of 4 games here today, as we will find out all 4 of our semifinalists by the end of the afternoon. And LAFC has us kicked off. And Bobby, LAFC on the front foot most of that first half. TFC made late subs. They charged at the end of that first half. You sort of mulled around this LAFC halftime huddle. What did you take away?
The main theme was, how do you break lines against a very well-organized defense?
Resic coming into the box, puts the cross in. Wanchope shot deflected and taken by Abraham.
And specifically, through that progression phase when LAFC has the ball in and around midfield, playing against Toronto FC's set defense, and the main point of focus was just the movement. How can 3-4 players move together, rotate together to disorganize Toronto in a controlled way? So we'll keep an eye on that throughout the second half. LAFC in the progression phase, how can they use their coordinated movements in 2, 3s, and 4s to unbalance Toronto FC and get on the ball, breaking the lines?
Long ball over the top for TFC for one of those 2 first half substitutes in Shola Jamo. That substitute 2 of the 7, but does not cost TFC a moment.
So again, when LAFC has the ball in this progression phase, there's 2 fundamental options. Come wide and create an overload through an outside back or a wide player, or break lines through the middle, through a midfielder, or, as we can see from Wanchope, number 7 tucking in, a winger coming inside into an inverted position.
Mazza with the ball up the line for TFC. TFC making the 1 substitute at halftime as they brought on Dante Wright on that right wing.
And one thing I've appreciated through the first 35 minutes here, David, is the element of surprise in Toronto FC. You never know if they're about to press or stay in their block, and it's caught LAFC off guard multiple times.
And TFC, probably clean lines in their block early in that first half, and then it was late on where once Shola Jamo really came on, that they were able to start the press. They do still have their 2 star players in Richard Chukwu, the center midfielder, and Joseph Chukwu, potentially to come on. Joseph, the game winner against Club America. Bobby, I milled around a bit for TFC, and the thing that stood out to me, nothing tactical, was just that in the opening game, we broadcast TFC, and Terry Dunfield came off the field at halftime, and TFC had a ton of the ball. They were having trouble breaking down. I believe it was Monterrey. And he sort of did a question and answer. What are you guys seeing? What do you think? How do you break it down? And when players didn't have answers, he said, do you want help? And they said yes, and he turns the board around. He already had it prepared. But he's sort of that calm, and we've talked about this a lot, learning experience. Today he comes in, it's already set up, and it's how to win. And the balance of this week, and the balance for youth development, as we've talked about a lot, is development over winning and winning over development. And it has to switch at times. It can never be all one. And so I'd love to see that from Terry Dunfield, that over the course of the tournament, it is shifting, giving the players different experiences to get from it. Corner kick coming now. LAFC take it quickly. They take it short. Almost accidentally there, but it's cleared away. Nugent. He can't keep that one under possession against Ramirez, and now back into the attack. Patrick Galvez heads it away over the head of Wanchope, and now Patrick Galvez forces Wanchope to put it out for a throw-in. 30-minute halves for a 60-minute game here at the Generation Adidas Cup. If this game is ended in a tie, we will go straight to penalty kicks, as that has been confirmed to us. There was penalty kicks to close out the U17 round of 16 yesterday between LA Galaxy and Manchester United, one of the best games we've seen so far in this competition. As Guerra once again poised on that central midfield spot. Santiago and Wanchope linking up down the right side. Santiago to the end line, keeps it in play. One-on-one with Jamo. Puts the cross in. They're up into the sky. Naeem's not able to wrap his foot around it. Looms down right there on the edge of the box, and Lumsden goes down, and once again, Naomi Nunes waving play on. Santiago puts the cross in, and Bobby, is it just if you play in a deep block, there's questionable moments that will happen around your box, or has TFC been caught sort of stepping in?
It's a great philosophical question, and I had this conversation with Mold Academy coach Eric Lurie, does great diagrams and explanations on Twitter about the effect of a deep block, and one of his points, to steal it, is that while a deep block helps you control space, it helps you keep the play in front of you, you always run the risk of the ball being effectively 25, 30 yards from your goal. Balls come into your box. And it's just too many unknowns. There's too many bad probability events that can happen when you're that close to goal. So it's always good to start your block higher just so that the play is out of your 18, out of the 25-yard zone close to your goal.
To clarify, Bobby, if you give someone credit, you're not stealing their idea. You're just quoting them. So it was almost complimentary. You don't have to say it that way. And thank you to Eric Lurie, you said. And Molde Academy, one of the best youth producers in the world, is now Terry Dunfield going to play his aces up the sleeve here in the opening 6 or 7 minutes of this second half. Richard and Joseph Chukwu, two of the brightest young prospects in the TFC Academy. They will be coming on here to close this game out for this TFC squad. That means Josh Nugent's afternoon is done.
You have to say this game has gone by design for Toronto FC. Keeping it 0-0 through the first 37 minutes. Having a lot of the control in the game. And now, 25 minutes to go, they bring on even more talent. They bring on even more game changers.
It'll be interesting to see here. It does look like, so Mazza's the one who come off, the deep lying midfielder. Richard Chukwu, more of an attacking midfielder in this team. So it'll be interesting to see between Christie and Bay who the responsibility to be the holding midfielder falls on. Joseph, the older brother, up top at center forward. Richard, the younger brother, spurring things from that deeper role in midfield. And you can hear the LAFC supporters.
Can we go big?
On the far right side of the field, enjoying this one.
David, as they drive forward, look at the combination between the right back. First time they break the lines through the middle all game.
And Resic drops in. Was able to help his team out, and immediately they win a corner kick. LAFC starting to find some new answers here.
And a great ball from right center back Villalobos. The majority of their progression phases, they've come wide. They've tried to create an overload between the right back, the 8 on that side, and the right winger. This time they break the line down the middle into Resic, who's so good at bringing his teammates into play.
So, corner kick now for LAFC. Not going to make this one count. On the near post, Resic heads it down, cleared off the line. And the goal counts. Our referee and crew trying to manage through this one. LAFC, though, they feel like they were told it was a goal, and they have wheeled off to celebrate in the corner. It feels like the most likely conclusion may be handball and penalty kick coming for LAFC. And here's the replay, Bobby. It's headed down by Resic. It comes off the body there of Haim's. You see his arm coming forward in a motion.
It's come off his chest.
And it comes off the other side of the crossbar and goes out. So, Bobby, two conversations. Did it cross the line? And if not, was it a handball? And I don't know the answer to
I don't
either.
know if we have the angle to know if it crossed the line. So we'll put that one aside and say no, because that does not appear to be the call on the field. There's nothing we can do about that one. The second question is, did it hit the arm? It looks to me like there is a an extension of the arm away from the body to power the ball off of the goal line. So here, look at number 92 on the goal line.
Let's say a little bit of a slower motion for us, so it bounces down past Abraham. And it is so hard to tell what part of the body it hits.
What I'm looking at here is the extension. See how that right arm flies forward? That signals to me that it hit the bicep, the upper arm area, more than the chest or the shoulder.
But it could be him generating the movement, but still using that top part of your shoulder, which would be illegal use. I do not know, even with our replays, that we can tell. And this is a big one for this refereeing crew. Naomi Nunes over there talking to Caitlin Trowbridge. And there, that's the best look we have. And our producers are talking to us as you can see the shadow of the ball. But it's not perfect noon, so I don't know if that comes straight down or not. Bobby, we've been a meteorologist already. We've been a traffic coordinator. Now we have to be a sun shadow expert. We're detectives.
We feel pretty confident they're not going to call it an immediate goal.
Yeah.
The linesmen, they've been decisive all game.
Ref, if you're not
The
sure,
flag
it's
was
gonna
not
be
up for a
ball.
goal. The question is it a handball?
And so now,
And I'll inject my personal opinion into this. If there's this much deliberation, you can't give a penalty kick. If you're unsure, penalty kick, 75% chance of a goal. It's too big of an outcome to give it. If you're this unsure, you don't give the PK, my personal opinion, and how to approach this.
so Naomi Nunes now going to talk to her fourth official about this one.
But the deliberation here, as a player, as a coach, is fantastic to see. It's a huge moment. You want them to get it right. You want them to use every resource at their disposal.
And so Naomi Nunes over on the sideline talking to Rachel Sweat. And Bobby, we've mentioned this a couple times for these officials. They are similar to these players and these coaches. They are pushing their way up the ranks, breaking through towards that professional ranks. And this is a tough moment. No VAR available to these referees. Naomi Nunes has had her conversation. She now has to process this. I understand what you say, Bobby. I think the attempt to make that motion from the TFC player, I think puts him in a dangerous spot to give that call. And so now our center referee still pondering this one. A tough moment here between TFC and LAFC. 0-0 in the quarterfinals. David Goss and Bobby Warshaw with you for this one. LAFC, that young man, Dempsey Resic, thought he had the breakthrough. The ball did not cross the line, is what our referee is saying. Question now, is there a handball? And I believe our referee is saying no to the goal, no to the penalty kick, and is preparing a drop ball for TFC.
David, I like how this was handled. It's nearly impossible decision. No video review here. You can't go get another angle. You can't look at the screen. It's all happening live. Even looking at the replay, we don't know if this goes within 1 inch or the other way to hit the shoulder or the arm. Head referee Naomi Nunes talked to everyone, took her time, did everything she could, and in the end made a decisive decision. I'm okay with the way that unfolded.
It is an impossible task for these referees. It's an impossible task for all referees, but no video review. David Goss, Bobby Warshaw, Kelly Glendenning with you here for this one. The biggest moment of the game as LAFC look for the breakthrough. We will continue to play on. You'd have to imagine a number of minutes of stoppage time then as this one's turned over. And who can react better to that moment? Shola Jamo on the ball, trying to create an opening. Two bodies go down to the ground. Still TFC in possession. And now Guerra with the clearance. TFC, a mistake there from Patrick Galvez. Resic now flying forward. It was the header from Resic that created the chaos all on the line. Now Wanchope into the path of Resic once again. Resic back to Wanchope. Wanchope into Arteaga now. Lumsden into the box. Lumsden gets to the end line. He crosses it. And the clearance by Haim. Guerra will turn upfield. And that shot blocked. And Bobby, take away the call wherever it goes. For these young players, it's a learning moment. How do you react to that? How do you now respond and play your game?
Really what LAFC have done the last 90 seconds. They've come right back from it. You have that emotion of scoring. You have to come back, and we see it at the professional level all the time. Video review takes goals away. All you can do is say, what's next? On to the next one. They've done that. They've kept attacking. They've kept the ball in the Toronto final third.
So TFC now on the counterattack. Chukwu over the top, and it will roll into the hands of Afre. LAFC yet to make a substitution. Feel like they have the answers out there on the field, and they've been close. If not potentially even got over the line. They're still locked in at 0-0. This is a huge learning moment for these young players. And now an opportunity for Abraham to sort of kill the momentum to this one. Resic has been good once again. Son of a college soccer player there in California. He joined this LAFC academy about 6 weeks ago, as they've been spending a long time recruiting him, working him into the system. I've been training with his ECNL club, actually out in Carson, California. As that battle in LA continues, we saw an unbelievable performance from the LA Galaxy U17s last night. Alejandro Alcala putting his name up in lights with a fantastic performance. And so LAFC now trying to win back the headlines at the youth levels. Those two teams are going to continue to produce great players, especially out of that market, as it looks like our first yellow card of the game is coming, and it will be for Christie. Only one yellow card so far for Lumsden between the two teams coming into this game, so no worry about a suspension for a yellow card. And Bobby, you've been talking with some people about the refereeing decision that we just saw.
Yeah, David, one of the great parts of the tournament is that, yes, we're evaluating players, but there's also referee evaluators from PRO, the Pro Association, who run the referees. And I just had the chance to pick their brain, and we've learned so much from them this week. And the main thought there is they used all of their resources, and that was a wonderful part. But the second you blow that whistle, you need a clear decision. If you are not sure what to do in that moment, you let play go. Whatever happens, a throw in, a foul next, then you can talk about it. But the main discussion point on that is when you blow the whistle in that situation, you have to know what you're going to do. So while it's great that all views were considered,
chance for Resic, his left-footed shot is blocked.
All deliberation was given. You should not be deliberating when you blow the whistle to stop. If you make that call, it has to be a PK red card send-off.
And I'll be... Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, so it's most, the point there is mostly about blowing the whistle without a clear decision already in your mind.
This ball gets to the end line. Abraham gets his hands on it. Obviously, with VAR, it's shifted a lot where you wait for that first dead ball stoppage, and it's become normal. Not an option here. And not a resource that they have, but as you said, we saw Naomi Nunes talk to her AR, talk to her fourth official, take her time to make that right decision. The two main match evaluators you mentioned, Joe Fletcher, who was a former AR at the World Cup out of Toronto, who's done an incredible job sort of building the next generation of referees, and Mark Geiger as well, who they were on the same crew at the World Cup in 2018 in Russia. A historic moment for this region.
Exactly. That's a great point. I mean, we're looking at it in slow motion, and we're not sure the right call.
Yeah, we have no idea, and we have those replays, so you're absolutely right. Also, Heart of Maple, nice comment. Most Canadian thing that could have possibly happened on this broadcast, as that one's knocked away by Bet. And now Richard Chukwu on the ball, right.
Well, it is a charge forward. It is a good learning moment too for the young referees out there watching, that it's okay to be unsure. Just let the play unfold before you blow the whistle. That's my main takeaway.
Joseph Chukwu off the bench, putting the pressure on. And Bobby, that's one of the things from Joe Fletcher, who's done it at the highest level that I've learned, is he says it's fine to admit you're wrong. You just have to control situations. He was telling us before the first game, if someone's yelling at you about a wrong call, you walk over to them because their volume will automatically drop if the distance closes. And then you can say, yeah, I was wrong. So we are learning a lot about refereeing, as all of us are. For more, though, on this fantastic LAFC Academy that we've seen here at the 15 and 17 level, let's go down to Kelly Glendenning with Todd Saldana, the Academy Director for LAFC.
Todd, the U17s are out here really cheering on these U15s. What does that camaraderie mean to this organization for them to be out here and provide their support?
It means everything. They were here the other night as well after taking a loss. So, for them to be here for them again like big brothers, pushing them on, it makes a big difference to the guys. They're very close.
It's a 0-0 deadlock right now, but what do you feel that LAFC is doing well, and how do they find that go-ahead goal?
Yeah, I think we're facing a really good team, really good tactical, methodical team, but we have to be careful not to get rolled into a slower tempo because they want us to slow the game down. We have to be a little more urgency around the goal. We've created chances, but just need that one final touch, and I think we've been very, very close.
Appreciate it, Todd. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Todd Saldana for taking the time. Thank you to Kelly Glendenning. This cross is played in now. The corner kick coming. Goes over the head of Lumsden on the far post, but he will run it down now. And one-on-one with Patrick Galvez. Patrick Galvez, he's been called into action a lot this game, and he has stood up so far. Wanchope in open space. 1v1 now. Gonna go against Chukwu, and Chukwu with the block.
Great 1v1 defending from Chukwu. Wanchope is so dangerous coming in off that left foot. Chukwu pushes him wide to his unpreferred right foot and gets the block in.
It'll be Wanchope to take this corner kick quickly. Driven to the far post again. Lumsden can get a clean contact on it. And now Joseph Chukwu will pick it up for TFC around midfield. And immediately Ramirez wins it back. And he flies forward. Ramirez has got a full-time rental in the attack for this LAFC team. Arteaga pulls it back. Ramirez with the cross just past the head of Resic. A second chance coming, and a gorgeous shot from Aguilar.
David, as these crosses come in, we see a pattern from the TFC defenders. They retreat, they get into a zone on the top of their 6-yard box. So over these next 9 minutes, as the pressure builds from LAFC, look for that second 6 zone. Not the first 6 yards from goal, but between the 6 and the penalty spot. As Resic and Guerra and Lumsden make the late runs to attack that zone ahead of where the TFC defenders retreat into.
And is that dropping to that 6 the game plan, or is that just psychological as you're getting pressured for TFC?
Generally, you want the near post center back, the strong side center back, to drop to a zone. Do not let the ball come across the face of the goal. The second center back is often in a man-marking situation. So I imagine there's just a sense of reactivity, some retreating, emotional retreating from TFC, where they just want to get back and protect the goal as much as possible.
Arteaga now off the pass from Santiago. Richard Chukwu. His clearance deflected down for right now. Chola Jamo in space, looking for the through ball for Joseph Chukwu. And it's intercepted by Ramirez. And it's touched right by Jamo at the last second. Now, Wanchope back in the attack. Timothy Fortier is getting ready to come on for this TFC squad. We are into the final 10 minutes of regulation. You'd have to think a number of minutes of stoppage time. If it is tied, we will go straight to penalty kicks. So that's something else for these managers to sort of think about. Who do you want on the field at the end of the game, as well as who do you want to close it out?
A great game so far, too. We are lucky to see a game at the under 15 level with this much tactical back and forth, with this much mental maturity from what we've seen between these two teams.
So TFC makes that substitution. Timothy Fortier comes on. And for LAFC, they bring on number 9, Charlie Rosenthal. Rosenthal, as I mentioned, the US U15 international, had a goal in the last game of the group stage. And he hits the crossbar on his first touch. An immediate impact from Rosenthal off the bench. And he's looking for his second goal of the tournament.
The definition of, and here we see coaches making the difference. Rosenthal comes in on the right. Wanchope goes central. Wanchope gets the ball between the lines, slips it into Rosenthal's pass, opens his hips, tries to bend it to the far post, just inches away from creating the opener here for LAFC.
TFC making that substitution as well. It was Quentin Christie sitting on a yellow card who came off. That Fortier replaced. And Bobby, I mentioned this is the 5th game in 6 days for these young players. Not only that, but for TFC, they had not played games in 2 years, and Terry Dunfeld talked to us about, as the game progresses, we are still putting it all together consistently and making things fluid both defensively and in possession.
Just a giant mental and emotional task for this team today.
Santiago now into the attack. Richard Chukwu over to defend. Chukwu closing down Santiago. The cross played in. Patrick Galvez knocks it down. The collision. No foul, and Jamo slides it away. Now Joseph Chukwu. He's battling outnumbered at the top of the midfield.
TFC needs Joseph Chukwu to hold on to those. He has to make them stick or draw the foul.
LAFC go quickly off the handball. Santiago now with space down the right. Floats it to the far post. Wanchope brings it down, and the clearance from Caldwell. And the slide tackle, these two teams leaving it all on the field. Here in the final 5 minutes of regulation, LAFC, TFC, U15 quarterfinals, just our first of 4 big matches here today on our Twitch and YouTube streams. Directly after this, we will find out who these two teams would meet in the next round of the semifinals with the Portland Red Bull New York game. We've got RSL Valencia at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And we've got the Atlanta United Tigres match to close it out at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Lumsden slides it across the midfield right, coming back to defend. And Bobby Shola Jamo and Wright brought on as attackers, but they've done the work defensively here. This one slid through. Lumsden coming in. And a strong tackle off that left back spot from Mancini.
Here we see that chance again. The drive forward from Lumsden out of the number 8 role. And a great defensive play. The left back Mancini tucking in, getting there first, getting position, and breaking it up.
And it looked like a clean tackle from our views. A good one from Mancini. And now he's one-on-one with Rosenthal. Rosenthal again to the left foot. And he curls it into the goalkeeper's hands. Charlie Rosenthal making an impact off the bench for this LAFC group. He's had 14 goals in league play. Coming in to this competition, he was the leading goal scorer for LAFC. Jamo now in space. Shola Jamo. 1v1 with Bruno, surrounded by black shirts now. He gets the cross away, Wright brings it down, still alive in the box, and knocked back out, and Bay not able to run it down.
That's the moment they've waited for 58 minutes. A transition opportunity, pick up the second ball, get Jamo into space, 2v2 with Joseph Chukwu with him.
And you can hear the TFC U17s cheering their side on as Wright battles in the corner, and it'll go out for a goal kick. And that half chance still looming for TFC. You got to think LAFC will feel like they have a winner in this one.
There's always one opportunity left on the plate. Always one big chance left.
Bruno now stepping forward. He's shown his poise and possession this game. That one comes down off Lumsden. And Richard Chukwu with the slide tackle. It'll be a throw in a little deeper for LAFC. Bob, you mentioned it a few minutes ago, but we've rarely seen a U15 game played at this tactical level and the back and forth from both the players and the coaches.
And especially from Toronto FC for what they've been through over the last 2 years. Not many games to work on it. Now 5 games in 6 days. And David, everyone always talks about congestion and the impact it has on the legs and the physicality. But I always thought it was a player who was harder mental and emotionally. To get to that mental focus every single day is so hard. And at this age, to do it 5 out of 6 days and to play at this level and this emotional height is so impressive from these young players.
All down the line. Lumsden pushing it forward for Rosenthal. Rosenthal cuts back. He's been dangerous all game off the bench. Rosenthal looking for that breakthrough. Guerra steps forward and takes it back for LAFC. Arteaga out wide. Arteaga's cross comes in, and it beats the goalkeeper at the near post. And LAFC, the go-ahead goal in the final minute of regulation.
A celebration that matches the quality. Guerra with the counter press, picks it up, gets it wide. Arteaga so good 1v1. You think the ball's coming across the goal, catches the goalkeeper Abraham leaning, and squeezes it inside the near post. The precision, the pace, and then the celebration. Arteaga puts LAFC up 1-0 with just minutes to go.
His third goal of the tournament to match Resic as the leader for this LAFC team. And Bobby, you mentioned it, but LAFC, it's been pull back, cross. Abraham tries to jump, and Arteaga, the awareness to try and sneak that in the near post.
He does. 9 out of 10 times you would expect Arteaga, who's already gotten an assist in this fashion, beating a player 1v1, cutting it back to the 6 of the second 6. On this one, he decides to go for goal, catches Abraham out. And now can TFC be the one to respond? LAFC had the disappointment on the controversial call earlier. They responded. They took the game back. They end up getting their goal. TFC now needs to be the one to emotionally step up in injury time.
For TFC now, the goal right on the edge of stoppage time, so you'd think there'd be a little bit more of an addition to that minimum of 2 minutes. Then TFC find an opening. Bad working Resic off the ball. He draws the foul. Lumsden jumps forward to block it. And now TFC will have an opportunity to retake things. And they'll have Abraham taken, and that is a yellow card, I believe, to Lumsden. I don't actually know who that was a yellow card to. And Abraham, they'll push every player forward. And Bez is sitting back here. Why wouldn't you just play to his feet and have him chip it in? As Abraham puts it in, it bounces. Patrick Galvez with the volley. And it's saved by Afre.
There's always a chance left.
We learned that throughout this tournament. Tigres, a goal against RSL, the last kick of the game for them to make it to penalties just 2 days ago. And that is the final whistle. LAFC, they upped and puffed throughout the game. They get the goal in the final minute, and they're able to move on to the semifinals. And Bobby, overall, a great performance from both these teams.
It's a team in LAFC who could beat you in so many ways. With the beautiful soccer, with the skill, and today was about the perseverance. Huffing and huffing until the puff finally blows TFC down. They kept going, Credit to them for continuing at it for the full 60 minutes.
And so LAFC, the first team to move forward in the bracket, but we've got a full day of coverage coming for you. Next up, Portland Timbers and the New York Red Bulls fighting for a spot to meet this LAFC team, who may now stand as favorites to win this U15 competition. For myself, David Goss, Bobby Warshaw, Kelly Glendenning, thanks so much for watching us. We'll be back in just a moment with your next game coming up here from Frisco, Texas in the 2022 Generation Adidas Cup.